to the first mansion world, you will notice considerable change, but if you had come from a more normal and progressive sphere of time, you would hardly notice a difference except for the fact that you were in possession of a different body. The tabernacle of flesh and blood has been left behind on the world of nativity. The very center of all activities on the first mansion world is the resurrection hall, the enormous temple of personality assembly. This gigantic structure consists of the central rendezvous of the seraphic destiny guardians, the thought adjusters, and the archangels of the resurrection. The life carriers also function with these celestial beings in the resurrection of the dead. From the temple of new life there extends 7 radial wings, the resurrection halls of the mortal races. Each of these structures is devoted to the assembly of one of the 7 races of time. There are 100,000 personal resurrection chambers in each of these 7 wings, terminating in the circular class assembly halls, which serve as the awakening chambers for as many as 1 million individuals. These halls are surrounded by the personality assembly chambers of the blended races of the normal post-Adamic worlds. Throughout all eternity, you will recall the profound memory impressions of your first witnessing of these resurrection mornings. From the resurrection halls, you proceed to the Melchizedek sector, where you are assigned permanent residence. Then you enter upon 10 days of personal liberty. You are free to explore the immediate vicinity of your new home and to familiarize yourself with the program which lies immediately ahead. You also have time to gratify your desire to consult the registry and call upon your loved ones and other earth friends who may have preceded you to these worlds. At the end of your 10-day period of leisure, you begin the second step in the paradise journey, for the mansion worlds are actual training spheres. Now let me share an overview of our system. The administrative center of our local system is Jerusalem. It consists of a cluster of architectural spheres, 57 in number, Jerusalem itself, the 7 major satellites, and the 49 sub-satellites. Jerusalem, the system capital, is almost 100 times the size of Urantia, although its gravity is a trifle less. Jerusalem's major satellites are the 7 transition worlds, each of which is about 10 times as large as Urantia, while the 7 sub-satellites of these transition spheres are just about the size of Urantia, and the 7 mansion worlds are the 7 sub-satellites of transition world number 1. This entire system of 57 architectural worlds is independently lighted, heated, watered, and energized by the coordination of the power center and the master physical controllers, in accordance with the established technique of the physical organization and arrangement of these specially created spheres. They are also physically cared for and otherwise maintained by the native Spornagia, and they are beings who labor for the upkeep of embellishment of Morontia creations. The vegetable life is also very different from that of Urantia, consisting of both material and Morontia varieties. The material growths have a characteristic green coloration, but the Morontia equivalents of vegetative life have a violet or orchid tinge of varying hue and reflection. There are specialists who design and build the homes, and we may participate in the design. The homes are embellished in accordance with the needs of those who inhabit them. There is abundant variety and ample opportunity for individual expression in all these constructions. There are workshops and industrial plants, enormous edifices for recreation and play and rest, places for the reversion directors, the humorists of the Mirancha worlds, to perform during periods of spiritual recharging. All are volunteers, giving themselves to the work of assisting their fellows in the achievement of thought change and mind rest, for such attitudes are most helpful in recuperating depleted energies. When partially exhausted by the efforts of attainment, and while awaiting the reception of new energy charges, there is agreeable pleasure in living over again the enactments of other days and ages. The early experiences of the race or the order are restful to reminisce, and that is exactly why these artists are called reversion directors. They assist in reverting the memory to a former state of development or to a less experienced status of being. All the worlds of mortal ascent have temples of worship, and they are the most exquisite creations of the Mirancha realms and spirit spheres. There are educational buildings where we will receive training and advanced learning of universe cultural knowledge. The entire universe is one vast school. But in all this superb training of mind and spirit, you are forever free from the handicaps of mortal flesh. No longer must you constantly referee the conflicting contentions of your divergent spiritual and material natures. At last, you are qualified to enjoy the unified urge of a glorified mind, long since divested of primitive animalistic trends towards things material. There are other places of assembly other than worship, and they are great and magnificent places of assembly. The first mansion world. On mansion world number 1, or other in case of advanced status, you will resume your intellectual training and spiritual development at the exact level whereon they were interrupted by death. Almost the entire experience of mansion world number 1 pertains to deficiency ministry. Survivors arrive on the first of the detention spheres, present so many and such varied defects of creature character and deficiencies of mortal experience that the major activities of the realm are occupied with the correction and cure of these manifold legacies of the life in the flesh on the material evolutionary worlds of time and space. Biological deficiencies were largely made up on the first mansion world. There are defects in planetary experiences pertaining to sex life, family association. On the first mansion world, all survivors must pass the requirements of the parental commission from their native planets. No ascending mortal can escape the experience of rearing children, their own or others, either on the material worlds or subsequently on the finality world or on Jerusalem. Fathers must pass through this essential experience just as certainly as mothers. It is an unfortunate and mistaken notion of modern peoples on Urantia that child culture is largely the task of mothers. Children need fathers as well as mothers, and fathers need this parental experience as much as do mothers. The infant receiving schools of our system are situated on the first of the Jerusalem transition cultural spheres. These infant receiving schools are enterprises devoted to the nurture and training of the children of time, including those who have died on the evolutionary worlds of space before the acquirement of individual status on the universe records. In the event of the survival of either or both of each of a child's parents, the guardian of destiny deputizes her associated cherubim as the custodian of the child's potential identity, charging the cherubim with the responsibility of delivering this undeveloped soul into the hands of the mansion world teachers in the probationary nurseries of the Marooncha worlds. These infants of ascending mortals are always personalized as of their exact physical status at the time of death, except for reproductive potential. This awakening occurs at the exact time of the parental arrival on the first mansion world. And then are these children given every opportunity, as they are, to choose the heavenly way, just as they would have made such a choice on the worlds where death so untimely terminated their careers. The parents are given an opportunity